Welcome to Conducting a Root Cause Analysis. Thanks for joining in. As a result of our time together, you'll understand what a root cause analysis is, why a root cause analysis is so critically important in school improvement planning, how to conduct a root cause analysis, and then what to do with the information from a root cause analysis once you have it. A root cause analysis is a systematic process for identifying the cause or causes of a problem. And it answers the question, why did it happen? When you looked at the questions at the bottom, you'll see that's the second one. But take a look at the other questions as well, because you'll see them again in a few minutes when we talk about where root cause analysis fits into continuous school improvement. Again, root cause analysis is a systematic process for identifying the cause or causes of a problem. And it answers that question, why did it happen? Root cause analysis does not find the problem. The problem is relatively easy to spot. It's the low graduation rate, the low test scores, the budget shortfalls, essentially that weed above the surface. The purpose of root cause analysis is to dig deeper and isolate the underlying cause of a problem. On April 14, 1912, at 11:40 p.m., the RMS Titanic, 3 football fields long and weighing 52,000 tons, struck an iceberg, ripping a gash through 5 watertight compartments several meters below the waterline. 2 hours and 40 minutes later, the Titanic was gone. But what First Officer Murdoch saw that night is not what sunk the Titanic. It was below the surface. It was hidden. So when we focused on the problem only, we do so really at our own risk, because it can lead to the wrong assumptions. We must go below the surface, be honest, and identify the root cause of problems that arise from our gap analysis. So let's see how and where the root cause fits into school improvement planning. The gap analysis defines the problem for us, answering the question, what is the problem? Through the root cause analysis, we then analyze the problem, drilling down to identify the root cause itself and answering the question, why did it happen? And the problem can be solved by carefully designing SMART goals and specific strategies that focus not just on the problem, but on the root cause of the problem, and doing so in a systematic way. When we do so, we must have our eyes on prevention also, answering the question, what will keep it from happening again? Another way to see where root cause analysis fits into school improvement planning, and in the template specifically, is to look at this graphic. Again, using the identified gaps and from gap analysis, a root cause analysis is conducted for each area shown here in green. So the gap analysis, as a review, identifies our needs and prioritizes those needs. And those needs are considered where improvement is needed immediately. The root cause analysis then goes below the surface and finds the true cause of the problem itself, not identifying the problem. That was done under our gap analysis, but it finds the root cause of the problem. And then this leads to the development of our goals. In section C of the template, just after gap analysis is conducted, this chart appears. Results from the gap analysis provide us with the problems. This is where the gaps are. And again, this is on the left. On the right, we go below the surface and conduct the root cause analysis. And on the right is where we list these findings. So the problem statements from our gap analysis are listed on the left. These become the problem statement for our goals. And in this chart, they pose the critical question, why is this happening? Well, we know what a root cause analysis is and how it fits into the school improvement planning process. So how do we conduct a root cause analysis? Well, there are a number of methods, but we will use the 5 whys method. In this method, the question why is asked repetitively until a root cause is uncovered. When using the 5 whys method, there are important points to remember. Make sure the causes or causal factors are based in fact before asking the next question. Avoid suggesting any causal factors that are outside of your control, and then cross out any responses that are listed that are outside of your control. Concentrate on why or what and not on who, and end a line of causal factors when no more factors can be listed. When these factors are nebulous or confusing and cannot go any further, you've reached the end of that particular line of causal factors. And you'll know that you've reached a root cause when that root cause is a factor that, if corrected, would eliminate the problem and prevent reoccurrence. Let's see what this looks like in a concrete example. The problem is getting a speeding ticket. We'd ask why. Why did I get a speeding ticket? Well, I was late for work. Or another reason, I didn't see the police. Or maybe it was because I didn't know the speed limit. With each one, we ask why repetitively. Let's look at the first. Was late for work. Why? Well, my shift starts too early. As we stated before, when we get to a causal factor over which we have no control, we delete that one. Well, why was I late for work? Well, I didn't hear the alarm. Why didn't I hear the alarm? Well, I didn't set the alarm. Why? Well, I was too tired last night. Why were you too tired last night? Well, I stayed up too late. Following that same line, I didn't hear the alarm. And I simply didn't hear the alarm. So it would end there. Or I overslept. Well, why? I didn't hear the alarm and I was too tired to wake up. Why were you too tired to wake up? Well, I stayed up too late. So you can see how asking the repetitive questioning of why can lead to a root cause. I do want to point out at the bottom, when it says, I didn't know the speed limit, why? I didn't see the sign, why? I was not paying attention. For whatever reason, when this group would have said not paying attention is something that we're not going to pursue any further. Certainly we may ask why, but in this case, the group that would have done this analysis stopped there. As I said, when the causal factor is nebulous or confusing, or the group simply deems it unnecessary to go further, they may stop at that point. But as you can see, keeping up with traffic, why? Running late, why? Stayed up too late, is the line of logic that they pursued. This is an example of a root cause analysis using the 5 whys process, and the root cause being stayed up too late. Here's one way to conduct a root cause analysis using the 5 whys process. There are many ways to do so. This is simply one example or one way that you might consider doing it. The leader groups individuals into teams and then posts the problem and asks, why might this have happened? Now, the individual team members use the same color sticky notes to generate first round of causes. And then the members at that table or in that group compare and narrow the responses to the agreed upon potential causes for that first level. Then the leader has the team captains post that first level of responses. Now, this process repeats 4 to 5 additional times or until a root cause is found. When notes are posted for each round, team members indicate the causal relationships between the current and previous responses using lines as shown here. After all rounds are completed, the whole group discusses the factors posted for each round and arrive at a consensus as to which may be the most fitting. In other words, what is truly the root cause or what are truly the root causes. Now it's your turn. If you choose to conduct this exercise, you may pause after I read the scenario and define the problem, as well as using the 5 whys method to identify the root cause. Bob sat in his car just off the freeway. Others flew by, but he just sat, empty. How could he have run out of gasoline? His morning started off okay. Sure, he was running late, a little behind. The meeting did not get out until late the night before. It would have ended earlier had his report been complete, but how could it have been? Judith did not get the figures to him until the day before. His boss, Andrea, was not pleased about his report being late for the meeting, and that worried him. In fact, it kept him tossing and turning until after midnight. I should have looked at the fuel gauge last night, he chastised himself. But how could he after such a tense meeting? He dialed for emergency assistance. It would be at least 45 minutes. So now Andrea would have one more reason to be upset. Again, if you choose to conduct a root cause analysis, you may do so at this time by pausing the presentation. Well, I hope that gave you, if you conducted the exercise, I hope that gave you some idea as to what conducting a root cause analysis is using the 5 whys process. In summary, a root cause analysis is a process for identifying the underlying cause of a problem. It identifies the root causes based on evidence. The root cause analysis enables us to respond to the cause of problems rather than its symptoms. And then the results from root cause analyses are used to generate responding action steps and strategies in our school improvement plan. Thank you for joining me for conducting root cause analysis. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at jpurcell@doe.in.gov. Thank you.